What if the single biggest incentive for buying an electric vehicle in America just vanished? For years, the federal EV tax credit of up to $7,500 made owning an electric car not just environmentally responsible, but financially possible for millions of Americans. That safety net is now being pulled away. In 2025, under the aggressive new economic policies of President Donald Trump, the government has moved to end the very incentives that helped build the electric vehicle industry. No exceptions, no soft landing. The repeal hits both new and used electric vehicles with devastating ripple effects across the automotive industry. Prices are rising. Factories are slowing. Thousands of American jobs hang in the balance. What happens next is a case study in political power, corporate strategy, and unintended consequences. And the worst may still be to come. In May 2025, the U.S. House of Representatives made a move that sent shockwaves through Detroit and Silicon Valley alike. The Ways and Means Committee, with full backing from President Trump, introduced legislation to eliminate federal tax credits for electric vehicles. The message was clear. No more government help for EVs. Starting January 2025, only manufacturers who have sold fewer than 200,000 qualifying EVs since 2010 would remain eligible for the $7,500 credit. For companies like Tesla, General Motors, and Ford, who already crossed that threshold, the door slammed shut immediately. The credit for used electric vehicles worth $4,000 and the $7,500 incentive for commercial EVs will vanish after 2025. Industry leaders were stunned. The repeal was positioned as part of Trump's broader economic plan to slash spending, fund major tax cuts, and promote American energy dominance. But critics were quick to call it short-sighted and reckless. It left automakers scrambling. No backup plan. No safety net. Ford and GM had invested billions under the assumption of long-term federal support. Now, they were racing to adapt to a reality they never expected. The real consequences were only beginning. If you're finding this investigation valuable, don't forget to subscribe and show your support. It helps us bring more critical stories like this to you. For American consumers, the shock was immediate and painful. Overnight, the price of a new electric vehicle jumped. Analysts forecast the average cost climbing from $45,600 to over $51,000. Sticker shock. For many middle-class buyers, EV ownership suddenly felt out of reach. The popular leasing market also took a heavy blow. Leases once accounted for up to 80% of monthly EV transactions, largely due to the tax credit benefits. That advantage evaporated. Without subsidies, leasing companies pulled back aggressive deals, pushing monthly payments higher. Consumers had little warning. Many had been waiting for new EV models from Ford, Chevrolet, and Rivian. Now, they faced difficult choices. Buy at a much higher price or walk away. Industry surveys revealed a chilling trend. Up to 30% of potential EV buyers paused or canceled their plans within weeks of the announcement. One buyer told the Wall Street Journal, "I was ready to buy the Ford F-150 Lightning. Not anymore. The math just doesn't work now." The backlash was swift, but policymakers stood firm. And for the automakers, their nightmare was just getting started. The automotive giants were blindsided. Tesla, Ford, General Motors, Rivian, all had built billion-dollar EV strategies based on the stability of federal incentives. Now, that foundation was crumbling. Ford acted first. In an urgent statement, the company announced price hikes on its best-selling electric truck. The Ford F-150 Lightning jumped nearly $7,000. General Motors followed. The price of the electric Hummer surged by $6,250. No choice. Rising material costs and the loss of government subsidies forced their hand. Tesla, already ineligible under the 200,000 unit cap, quietly adjusted its Model Y and Model 3 pricing. Even startups like Rivian and Lucid were forced to reevaluate their sales forecasts. The industry had no roadmap. Internal memos revealed frantic efforts to shift production costs, renegotiate supply contracts, and appeal directly to lawmakers. One Ford executive was quoted anonymously. "We prepared for tariffs, supply chain issues, even labor strikes. We did not prepare for this." The uncertainty spread fast. Dealerships reported sharp drops in showroom traffic. Suppliers braced for canceled orders. The worst-case scenario? Massive factory shutdowns and widespread layoffs. That nightmare was closer than anyone wanted to admit. The ripple effects were brutal. Suppliers, dealers, entire towns dependent on auto plants. No one was spared. Industry analysts projected up to a 40% decline in U.S. EV sales by 2030 if the repeal remained permanent. Staggering. An estimated 70,000 American jobs were suddenly at risk, from assembly line workers in Michigan to battery manufacturers in Georgia. Communities were terrified. Local governments feared the return of economic ghost towns last seen during the 2008 financial crisis. But the consequences didn't stop at the economy. The environmental setback was just as severe. According to the Washington Post, U.S. emissions could rise by 49 million metric tons annually without continued EV adoption. That's the equivalent of adding over 10 million gasoline-powered cars to American roads. A disaster for climate goals. California reacted first. Governor Gavin Newsom unveiled an emergency state tax credit program to offset the federal cuts. Other states, including New York and Illinois, began exploring similar plans. A temporary bandage, but even with state help, experts warned the damage was done. The global EV race would not wait for America to catch up, and one country stood ready to take advantage: China. President Trump was unapologetic. At a press conference in June 2025, he defended the repeal in typical fashion. American taxpayers should not be subsidizing luxury cars for rich liberals, he declared. The room fell silent. Trump framed the move as a bold step toward fiscal responsibility and energy independence. The savings he promised would fund sweeping tax cuts and deregulation to boost domestic oil and gas production. Supporters cheered. Many Republican lawmakers and business leaders in traditional energy sectors rallied behind the plan. But automakers and environmental advocates warned of long-term damage. The EV repeal would undercut America's leadership in advanced automotive technology, handing a golden opportunity to foreign rivals. China was the most obvious beneficiary. Beijing accelerated its EV initiatives, pouring billions into domestic battery plants and vehicle exports. The fear was real. Could American companies compete without government support? Privately, executives lobbied feverishly behind closed doors for a compromise. Tesla CEO Elon Musk hinted at potential legal challenges. General Motors and Ford dispatched top lobbyists to Capitol Hill. But Trump remained firm. No handouts, no bailouts, he said bluntly. The message was clear: adapt or be left behind. The dust has yet to settle. The repeal of EV tax credits is not just a policy reversal. It's a turning point. Factories are on edge. Dealers report slumping sales. Suppliers brace for layoffs. The environmental community warns of catastrophic setbacks to climate goals. And American automakers now face an uncomfortable reality. They must compete without the safety net they once depended on. Meanwhile, China surges ahead in the global EV race. Europe remains committed to aggressive subsidies. The world watches. Will American innovation survive without federal support? Or has the U.S. surrendered its lead in the EV revolution? For now, uncertainty reigns. One thing is clear: the decisions made in Washington over the next few years will define the future of transportation. So, we leave you with this question: can America regain its electric vehicle dominance before the 2028 election,